This was a start, but there was a lot that still needed to happen.
And 70s.
In the 1970s, the regional center system grew from the 2 pilot programs
to the 21 regional center across California today.
And they also began to develop some community-based services.
The 80s.
I love the 80s, when people finally started to think about having people with disabilities getting employed.
The 80s were like forever ago.
I know it seems away for those who are young, but in the bigger picture, this is very recent. At least it got going.
In the 80s, supported employment programs started to support individuals in community jobs.
ARC California sued DDS because the state had promised to fund services based off of a person's individual program plan. ARC won the case and entitlement was established.
The state puts the core staffing formula in place to fund regional centers. Title 17 outlines the initial services and how they are funded.
The alternative residential model is introduced to fund community care facilities.
Wow, I'm not in the 80s.
And 90s.
De-institutionalization began with the settlement of the Kofelt lawsuit.
Expanding services are created as higher community expectations for individuals with developmental disabilities continue to grow.
Including services like supported living.
SLS. The 2000s.
Oh, I know. I was born.
Well, that is certainly important too, Ian.
The state starts the closure of Agnews Developmental Center, and over 98% of the residents move to the community rather than to another developmental center.
The explosion of young children with autism starts to catch people's attention,
leading to increased calls for research and supports and services to help improve the lives of children with autism and their families.
And then in 2008, the state heads into a great recession, with over $1 billion in funding reductions, cuts, changes in eligibility, and transfers of responsibilities.
2010.
Till today.
The system continued to push for increased autonomy
and decision-making by individuals with developmental disabilities.
The state passed both an employment first policy and introduced a self-determination pilot project.
The recession ended, and for many systems, the funding was increased and restored.
The funding of the Lanterman Services grew.
But it was based on the formulas created in the 90s and not on the costs of providing the necessary supports to ensure that individuals with developmental disabilities are fully included in their communities.
The final stages of de-institutionalization are underway,
with the announced closure of the remaining 3 large developmental centers by 2021.
Currently, less than 1,000 people still reside in developmental institutions.
And over 280,000 individuals receiving services and supports in their communities.
The Lanterman Act has grown,
changed, and survived.
The last 50 years demonstrated that with appropriate supports, individuals with developmental disabilities can be contributing members of our community.
but now,
our system faces a crisis in providing those supports.
Untitled.
Growing.
V-O-T I-N-G. Voting.
Diverse.
Community of Californians
Who want to know.
where do we go from here?
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 That's a good question.